The laughter burst forth again behind me, now mingled with a call for help. I stumbled into my car, locking the door, my heart racing wildly. This was just the beginning. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to uncover the truth, and with that thought, I knew I would have to return. I drove home, the park's lights fading in the rear-view mirror. I had every intention of putting it behind me, but sleep wouldn't come. Thoughts of Julia spun in my mind, her terrified expression haunting my dreams. I tossed and turned, the weight of unanswered questions pressing down on me. The next day, I had to know more. I went to the local library, hoping to uncover anything about Julia's disappearance. The yellowed newspaper clippings, crammed in a dusty corner, piqued my interest. Some articles detailed the park's glory days, but others told a darker story about vanished children. My heart sank as I read Julia's name. It was mentioned only in whispers, a victim of a tragedy that the town had tried to forget. I scanned through the papers, my anxiety creeping back in. I needed context. I found a picture of her from the birthday party, smiling, carefree. Dubbed a bright star snuffed out, the article spoke of the fear that followed her disappearance. I felt sick to my stomach. I had to dig deeper. I approached the librarian, an older woman wearing glasses that rested perilously on her nose. "Do you have anything on the park's history? Something unusual?" She looked at me with a mix of pity and recognition, hand resting on a stack of books. "What are you after? The park has its secrets, you know." "Secrets?" I echoed, my skin prickling. She nodded, her fingers trailing over the spines of dusty tomes. "There have been whispers of the supernatural, invisible rides, lost souls, children who never left." "What do you mean?" I pressed, my breath quickening. "They say the park lures those who are lost. They don't know how to escape. Julia, she was just the first." Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "I'd be careful if I were you. Some don't leave at all." Her words clung to me like fog. I thanked her and left, heart racing. How many others had been drawn in like Julia? That night, I returned to the park, a mix of dread and determination pushing me forward. The air felt different, electric, as I parked my car. I gripped the flashlight tightly and stepped into the darkness. The familiar laughter teased from every direction, intertwining with my heartbeat. I headed back to the Ferris wheel, sensing that Julia might reveal more. As I approached, shadows danced in the corners of my vision. Then I saw it. A figure near the base of the wheel, hunched over, shifting nervously. I squinted, straining to see clearly. "Who's there?" I called out, voice trembling. The figure stood slowly, shrouded in shadows. I took a step closer, when suddenly the figure's face appeared. It wasn't Julia. My breath hitched as I faced a boy, his clothes tattered. "You have to leave."
System. Text-to-speech generation. Language. Detect language. Instructions. Voice style. Atue como narrador com voz potente, forte e autoritária, tom firme e inabalável. Meio. Mantenha o fluxo e a conexão. Conecte com. Step closer, when suddenly the figure's face appeared. It wasn't Julia. My breath hitched as I faced a boy, his clothes tattered. "You have to leave," he gasped, eyes wide with fear. "She'll take you too." Before I could react, he took off running into the darker parts of the park. I hesitated, caught off guard by his warning. I felt the energy shift, the laugh rising around me again, more sinister this time. "Hey, wait!" I yelled, but he was gone, swallowed by darkness. That voice, warning me, sent chills down my spine. I needed to know more, but every step felt like a descent into madness. I turned to the Ferris wheel, the balloon still dancing in the wind, now pulsing as if alive. It felt like the answer, something vital hidden in that ominous rise. I needed to confront whatever waited for me there. Just as I took another step forward, the laughter intensified, and a flicker of motion caught my eye again. Someone or something was still watching me. I realized, with growing dread, I wasn't alone. I steadied myself. I had to choose, face the truth or run. But deep down, I knew there would be no running from this. With resolve, I approached again, ready to confront whatever darkness lay ahead. The Ferris wheel loomed above me like a sentinel of lost memories. Each creak echoed through the stillness, and the laughter morphed into something more sinister. It felt personal, as if the park itself resented my presence. I flicked my flashlight toward the shadows at the wheel's base, hoping to catch a glimpse of the boy. But the darkness remained impenetrable, and all I saw were remnants of the past, rusted rides and empty benches. Then I heard it again, the laugh. Now it was just above a whisper, floating from somewhere deep within the park. Heart pounding, I turned back toward the sound, every nerve in my body screaming at me to leave. But I couldn't. I had to find Julia, whatever that meant. As I stepped closer, the air thickened, almost as if I was walking through molasses. My mind was racing. What was I really hoping to find? The boy's warning gnawed at me, but I dismissed it. I had to know what happened to Julia and why she was still tied to this place. I edged around the Ferris wheel and caught sight of a flickering light. It pulsated with a rhythm I could hardly comprehend, almost drawing me in. I found myself moving toward it, compelled by something I couldn't explain. The laughter swelled again, almost beckoning. Suddenly, a figure darted past me, and instinctively I turned. It was the boy again. He stopped, looking back at me with desperation etched in his eyes. "You can't go there," he cried, pointing at the glowing light. "What is that?" I demanded, stepping closer. "It's her," he whispered, barely audible over the laughter. "You don't want to see her. You have to leave now." His eyes conveyed a mix of terror and urgency, but I knew I couldn't walk away. Not now. "Wait, why are you so scared?" I asked. Before he could answer, the laughter rang louder, drowning out our voices, and a chill raced up my spine. Her lips curled into a teasing smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Why did you come here?" she asked, her voice a mixture of mischief and malice. I didn't respond. I couldn't. All I could manage was to glance at the carousel. Julia's figure was barely visible now, and the haunting laughter bubbled up again, louder and more chaotic. Something was very wrong. The children surrounded me, their movements synchronized like a twisted dance. "You shouldn't have come," the girl taunted, her eyes gleaming. "What do you want with her?" "I want to save her," I shouted, my voice trembling. "Save her?" another child echoed, stepping forward. "You can't save what's already lost." My heart dropped at those words. "What do you mean?" Before any of them could answer, trembling flooded my fingers. I felt an ice-cold wind whip through the air, sharp and biting. A whirlwind of memories swirled around me. Flashes of laughter, shouts, familiar faces, moments of joy tainted by an eerie sense of dread. It was like watching a film that kept breaking and restarting. Suddenly, the laughter turned into a cacophony of shrieks, and the carousel began to spin faster, its music distorting into a chaotic tune that echoed through the void. I felt dizzy, overwhelmed. The children's laughter morphed into calls, begging for attention, for rescue. "Find Julia!" the girl cried, her voice cutting through the noise. "But be careful, she may not even want to be found." And just like that, they vanished. The shadows pulled back, leaving me standing alone once more in the dim light of the spinning carousel. I stumbled back, heart racing. What did she mean? Was Julia lost to me? Fighting against the haze, I took a deep breath and blinked hard. But deep down in that swirling storm of disbelief, one thought anchored me. I had to keep searching. Just then, a sound broke through the fear. A low whimper coming from the shadows beyond the carousel. I squinted, trying to see through the dimness. That's when I saw it, a glimmer of light catching a reflection in the darkness. It was a shard of glass. I reached down to pick it up, recognizing the engravings on its surface. Memories flooded back, fragments of Julia's laughter, our secrets, and the promises we made. But before I could process what I'd found, the ground trembled beneath me. I knew then that something was coming, something I hadn't prepared for. "Julia!" I called out again, as the darkness began to close in around me. I felt my heart pound as the tremors grew stronger. It was as if the ground beneath me was alive, writhing in anticipation. With the shard of glass still clutched in my hand, I glanced around for something, anything that could guide me. In the distance, the carousel's music twisted further, creeping into my mind. I felt an urgency to move, but fear rooted me in place. "What do I do?" I whispered to the shadows, as if they might give me answers. That's when I saw it. A darker shadow among the swirling figures of the carousel, a figure that didn't pulsate with childish energy or laughter. It was solitary and heavy, like an anchor in the swirling chaos. I squinted, trying to discern its shape. Was it Julia? A chill swept over me, and I stepped back reflexively. The ground rumbled again, and the figure flickered like an old film struggling to stay in focus. The laughter of the children echoed like shattering glass, mixing with my increasing panic. "Julia!" I shouted. No response. With a sudden surge of desperation, I took a step forward. The shadows felt thick, clinging to my legs like hands. I pushed through the darkness, heart racing. "I have to find her," I breathed, each word feeling like a promise. The tremor stopped, and the shadows seemed to part, revealing the figure from before more clearly. I squinted, trying to discern its shape. It was a shadow, but not Julia. The girl wore ragged clothes, her hair a tangled mess. Her expression was etched with pain. "What do you want?" I asked, confusion bubbling to the surface. Her gaze shifted behind me, uncertainty flickering like a candle about to go out. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered,
barely audible, but it was clear she was not like the other children. She was different. "Where's Julia?" I pressed, my voice shaking. This felt wrong. Her eyes darted to the carousel, and she pointed. "Don't go near it," she urged, her voice thick with warning. Why not? I was desperate for answers, each question a lifeline in this surreal nightmare. "Because it takes what it wants. It feeds off hope," she warned, then turned abruptly, fading into the shadows like smoke. I stood frozen, her words sinking in. My hope, my longing to find Julia was the very thing that could doom me. The carousel whirled faster, the light strobing, creating a disorienting effect. "No!" I shouted, and soon I was running, ignoring the warnings echoing in my mind. I bolted toward the flickering lights, the chaos intensifying around me. The haunting tune of the carousel pulled me in, luring my focus. As I got closer, I felt the air change, heavy with a palpable energy. I could see shapes moving inside the blurred glow. And then, beneath the deafening music, I heard it. A familiar voice calling my name. "Help!" It was Julia. I pushed forward against the rush of fear. But just as I reached the edge of the carousel, a shadow lunged toward me from the darkness. I stumbled back, the glass shard slipping from my grasp and shattering against the ground. "No!" I gasped, as pieces of the shard flickered out like stars. The carousel's lights dimmed, and everything fell into silence. A figure stepped from the shadows, blocking my escape. The girl with ash-colored hair, the one who had taunted me. "You shouldn't have come," she repeated, and dread settled in my stomach. Panic surged as I realized I was trapped. "What do you want?"
I could feel the edges of my sanity fraying, the darkness pushing in closer. Suddenly, everything collapsed into blackness again. A sharp gasp escaped my lips as my heart thudded against my rib cage. Then a breath, hot and ragged, brushed against my ear. My skin prickled, and I turned to face it. "Help me!" I stumbled backward, not prepared for what I would see. In the faint glow emerging from the carousel, I caught a glimpse of a figure. It was Julia, her face gaunt, eyes wide with fear. "Julia!" I cried, reaching out for her, but she sank back, shadows enveloping her like smoke. "Don't, please," she echoed, a pleading tone mixing with the fear in her gaze. Everything in me surged at the sight. I needed to break through that darkness. I surged forward, driven by love and desperation, but the shadows tangled around my feet, dragging me back. "Get away from her!" I shouted, feeling the weight of the darkness press in. And just before I lost my footing completely, I caught one last glimpse of her face. And then, just like that, the darkness consumed me once more. I don't know how long I was lost in that darkness. It felt like hours, days, even minutes stretched into eternity. The freedom of light faded from my memory, replaced by the crushing weight of shadows. But suddenly I was jolted awake again. My body slammed against something solid. I gasped, my lungs burning as I struggled to breathe. I found myself on the ground, a cold sweat drenching my clothes. Dazed, I pushed myself to sit up. My surroundings were hazy, a thick fog hanging over everything. I could barely make out the edges of a familiar landscape, a playground. The carousel stood still nearby, and the swings swayed slightly, as if someone had just stepped off them. "Julia," I called, my voice barely above a whisper. No response, just the creaking of the swings, echoing eerily in the quiet. I looked around, desperate for any sign of her, and that's when I noticed something glinting under the slide. I stood, wobbly at first, and made my way over. It was a bracelet, Julia's bracelet, the one she always wore, delicate with tiny charms hanging from it. I picked it up, fingers trembling. The warmth of it might have made me feel better, but the icy dread creeping into my chest told a different story. This wasn't good. It felt like the universe was mocking me. "Julia!" I shouted again, but the word evaporated into the air like mist. As I clutched the bracelet, I heard the soft sobbing again. This time it was louder, almost close enough to touch. It drew me forward, deeper into the fog. I followed the sound, the weight of darkness still lingering behind me, like a huntress waiting for the opportune moment to pounce. I stepped into a clearing. The fog parted, revealing a small group of figures huddled together, their bodies shrouded in shadow. They weren't just any figures. They were people I had known, fragments of my past, twisted into this unreal tableau.
Friends who had moved away, acquaintances from school, faces that felt like a dream. Their eyes, though, were not vacant. They were filled with something sharper than before, recognition. "Help us," they chorused, their hands extended towards me, fingers beckoning as if inviting me to join them. "No!" I shouted, the panic clawing up my throat. "You're not real! You're not real!" The shadows around them seemed to thicken. A low, whispering laughter echoed through the clearing. I turned to run, but the ground beneath me shifted, turning into quicksand. I felt myself sinking, the weight of every past encounter trying to pull me back. And then, through the fog, I saw a glimmer, a flash of blonde hair. "Julia!" I cried, fighting against the grasping shadows. "I'm coming!" But the laughter grew louder, drowning out my cries. I felt the cold fingers of despair wrapping around my chest. Just before the fog swallowed me whole, I caught her gaze. Fear pouring from Julia's eyes, begging me to understand something I couldn't grasp. Then everything went dark again. But this time I heard a new sound, a rustling, almost like whispers taking shape. I shook with fear, waiting for the presence to reveal itself. I couldn't take it anymore. "What do you want from me?" I yelled into the void. And then, from the depths of the darkness, came a soft voice, chilling and melodic. "You need to choose, but only if you can find the truth, before it finds you." That's when my heart dropped, because if I had to find the truth, I had no idea what I might uncover. I awoke again, but this time the ground felt solid beneath me. The surrounding fog had lifted, revealing the past-like figures from before, now scattered across a playground. faded yet alive in their monotony. I felt like I had entered a ghostly fairground section, a liminal space suspended in time, each figure caught in an endless loop of laughter and joy. "Julia!" I shouted, my voice breaking across the silence. I felt the weight of desperation in my chest. I pushed my way through the figures, hoping to find her amidst this surreal illusion. But as I moved closer, the joyful laughter twisted into giggles that echoed with malice. It left a bitter taste in my mouth. I realized abruptly that these figures were not simply memories. They were fragments of the lost children, voices that resonated with time and sorrow. They were remnants of those who had come before me, trapped in an eternal cycle. "Help us!" echoed around me, a collective chorus that chilled my blood. Ignoring it, I continued my search, feeling a surreal pull toward the carousel, shivering at the sight of it spinning slowly, its painted horses frozen mid-gallop, radiating warmth like a too-close sun. "This has to be the way," I murmured to myself as I stepped forward. As I neared, a jolt of cold air coursed through me. I looked down, spotting Julia's bracelet, her delicate charm dangling like a silent plea for help.
It glimmered like a siren's call, its presence anchoring my wavering resolve. "Please," I whispered, reaching for the bracelet, willing it to guide me to her. But the laughter thickened, swirling around me, drowning out my thoughts. The shadows shifted again, drawing closer, and that soft voice resonated once more. "You need to choose, but only if you can find the truth before it finds you." My heart raced, pulse pounding in my throat. What truth? The laughter spiraled, gnashing voices wove around me, tangling my limbs in fear's grip. I turned back, eyes darting between the scattered figures and the carousel. "What do you want?" I called out again, desperation creeping in, threatening to drown me. Suddenly, the carousel began to spin faster, the haunting music rising to a crescendo. I felt an overwhelming compulsion to return to it, knowing deep down that whatever truth awaited me lay within. I took a step back and steadied myself, forcing my legs to carry me closer, closer, until the shadows coalesced into a brilliant, pulsating light that swallowed my vision. "Julia!" I shouted as the world tilted around me. I pushed through a wall of darkness, sparking hope that somehow her voice might still carry through. My head spun, and before I could register anything, I was struck by a potent memory. Her laughter at the park, the joy we shared, the echoes of our youth. They enveloped me until I stood at the very heart of the carousel, breathless. And there she was, Julia, her figure illuminated in a soft glow, just out of my reach. "Help me!" she cried, fear twisting her features. "No!" I roared, fighting against the shadowy tendrils trying to restrain me. "I'm here!" Before I could grasp that hope, the world around us lurched, and I felt everything shift. The carousel spinning kicked into high gear, shadows and laughter colliding in a euphoric chaos that sought to fracture my sanity.
I realized the carousel itself was the heart of the park's dark magic. It thrived on despair and laughter alike, feeding on innocence lost. As I felt a grip tug me back into the swirling chaos, I reached out, heart pounding with reckless urgency. "I won't let you go." I shoved against the encroaching shadows, and in that moment the world blurred, revealing the depths of the park's long-buried secrets. Time twisted, morphing around memories etched in darkness and light. Flickering flashes, children's laughter overpowering screams, joyous birthday celebrations turning to moments of silence. Julia caught in the maelstrom of the lost. And then I understood. Julia was not just a victim. She was a tether, an echo who whispered through the darkness, caught between the realms of the living and the lost. The carousel fed on the remnants of joy and fear, and in that cyclical loop, she had become a part of it. In a fierce flash of resolve, I broke free of the shadows trying to bind me. "No, I will not lose you again." Before I could grasp that hope, the world around us lurched, and I felt everything shift. The carousel spinning kicked into high gear, shadows and laughter colliding in a euphoric chaos that sought to fracture my sanity. I realized the carousel itself was the heart of the park's dark magic. It thrived on despair and laughter alike, feeding on innocence lost. As I felt a grip tug me back into the swirling chaos, I reached out, heart pounding with reckless urgency. "I won't let you go." I shoved against the encroaching shadows, and in that moment the world blurred, revealing the depths of the park's long-buried secrets. Time twisted, morphing around memories etched in darkness and light. Flickering flashes, children's laughter overpowering screams, joyous birthday celebrations turning to moments of silence. Julia caught in the maelstrom of the lost. And then I understood. Julia was not just a victim. She was a tether, an echo who whispered through the darkness, caught between the realms of the living and the lost. The carousel fed on the remnants of joy and fear, and in that cyclical loop, she had become a part of it. In a fierce flash of resolve, I broke free of the shadows trying to bind me. "No, I will not lose you again."